It is the Wannabe Entrepreneur Indie Worldwide crossover episode
crossover.
featuring
It's our first
national
time.
dish of Portugal.
We are in Portugal. It's so weird. I don't know if I see you look better.
Yeah, well, this is the audience. This is my first time ever doing an in-person podcast.
Me is the second.
This setup is so legit, in my opinion.
This is very professional.
Very
Everyone
professional.
at home, I hope you are enjoying. I hope you're enjoying as well.
The quality of this audio video production.
Yeah. Anthony, welcome to Portugal.
Thank you, sir. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. And you've been here for 2 weeks, 3 weeks already?
About that, yeah. I've lost track of the time already.
Okay. And what is your first time here?
No, I've been in Lisbon once before. It was
Mhm.
February 2020 for about a month.
Okay. So
Yeah.
not too long ago.
A couple years. It feels like a long time ago. It was like immediately before the pandemic I was
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
It's like the last month when we still lived in a pre-pandemic.
Yeah. What year
World.
are we in actually? I forget sometimes. I was like, is it 2022? Is it 2021?
Yeah, it's 2022 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been 2 years. You were here for a month, and now you're back.
Yeah, back for another maybe 2 months this time. And
Okay.
I have to say, Lisbon is a lot nicer in the summer than February.
Yeah, February. I think it's the worst month to come to Lisbon. If I had to pick
It was
the
kind
worst
of
month,
cheap, which was nice, like
yeah.
Airbnbs and stuff.
It's very rainy. It can get rainy. Depends. The weather changes a lot.
It was
then.
damp. I got sick like right away. I don't think it was COVID. I think it was just had a cold.
Okay.
Maybe it was though. Maybe I was like,
You didn't
ground
get
zero.
tested?
it was before anybody was doing that. Like people were still
yeah.
making fun of the China virus.
Yeah.
I remember right after Lisbon, I was in like Faro, and then I was in Spain. I remember like being in a hostel in Spain, and everybody was like, nah, like it's just the news.
Yeah.
Like it's no big problem. Like this dude sneezed on my face, and like we were all laughing about it. And then I went home. I was like, I'm fucked.
I will die.
I'm gonna die. And then like 2 days later, Italy shut down, and then like 2 days after that, Spain was shutting down. So I like fled the country basically.
Yeah,
Got an earlier flight, went to London, left London the next day. London shuts down. I'm in Canada. Canada shuts down. It's like poof, poof. It felt like the walls were closing.
And then you eventually went to New York.
Yeah, I rented a car and drove across the border
That's
back
crazy.
to America.
It's
It was weird, dude.
Did you
It
feel
was
like
weird.
that you were running from like a virus or like a zombie? Not the virus. It was
It felt
a
like a
virus,
zombie
actually, but
apocalypse,
like zombie
absolutely.
apocalypse. Yeah.
And like the drive from Canada to the U.S. was so eerie because the highway was empty, and they had all these like highway signs along the road. So empty highway, just me and like 18-wheelers and signs that are like "Stay home, stay home,
Shit.
don't go anywhere. If
It's-
you
yeah,
stop on the
it's so
bridge,
weird.
don't get out. Don't get out of your
Yeah.
car." And then I get to the border. I didn't even own a mask yet, and the border guards are like, "Who are you? What are you doing here? How did you survive?" And they gave me a mask, and they're like, "All
How
right,
did you survive?
be
That's
safe,"
amazing.
like. And then I drove home and stayed at my parents' house for the next 6 months, which, by the way, is like the perfect place to survive a zombie apocalypse. Upstate New York.
Yeah.
We've got everyone's armed. One, food self-sufficient. Everyone's farming. There's like Amish community up there. Like
Yeah.
if there's a place to survive the apocalypse, upstate New York, I would say.
Okay.
Maybe I shouldn't even reveal.
Yeah.
No, go somewhere else. Go to Portugal.
Didn't it?
Well, and now I'm back in Lisbon.
Yeah. Yeah, Lisbon, exactly. So the best city you've ever known. So you're back in Lisbon.
Mm-hmm.
It's better. It's more sunny, I guess, than in February. And we have here. Dun, 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 now we need like this pastel nata, which you never tasted before, right?
For the purposes of this podcast, I've never had it before. Yeah.
Anthony's
Reaction-
having his first pastel nata.
We're pivoting to reaction
Yeah.
videos. No more of this like founder content. It's just reaction videos now.
Yeah. So
What do we say in Portuguese for cheers? Yeah.
for cheers, we say there's two ways. You can say saúde,
Saúde.
or if it's with glasses, sometimes we use the word chin chin,
Chin chin. That's cute.
which is it sounds kind of Chinese kind of thing, but it's the clink of
the glass.
the glasses. Yeah,
That's cute. Well, saúde.
let's do saúde. All right.
Delicious. This one's really good. Really buttery.
Is your first time you have a napkin there?
Not from Monte Korea.
This is yours if you want.
Oh, thanks. Delicious. I should have brought something too.
Do you think that this is better than the pastéis de Belém?
Yeah. It's been like 2 years since I tried that one, but this one's better.
No, we just
I have no idea. No.
One 5 minutes of eating pastel nata.
Oh, the best content. It's really good.
Do you have anything like this in the US?
Not really, no. Like, you can get pastries with custard and stuff. Or like a donut filled with cream.
Would you say it's the same?
No, this was kind of different.
Oh wow, this was good.
That's good.
It was a good idea to run to the bakery.
I agree. Thank you.
And now I will drink a coffee from my WB mug.
Logo's out. Yeah, I think you really went up to me on the swag.
Yeah, I feel a bit bad.
You're swagged out.
Shall I bring your sticker that I have there so that you can...
Oh, I've actually got them in my... I always have the stickers out there ready.
All right. Do you think we should introduce ourselves first? Or do you think everyone knows us already because we're
so famous, yeah. Everybody knows. This is Tiago.
Anthony.
Host and founder of the Wannabe Entrepreneur Podcast / community.
Hosting founder of the Indie Worldwide. It's the same. Podcast / community. We are competitors and best friends.
Yeah, basically. I've enjoyed getting to know you. We've talked before on your podcast. But we met for the first time in person 2 weeks ago, I guess. We went to the bar.
With some nice Nepalese food.
Yeah, that was delicious.
And then went to a bar. It was also nice. And I remember the first time we chat via in the virtual world. And I guess you were like just woken up or something. So I remember like your voice being so low. I was like, wow, he has a very low voice. Yeah, I even had like difficulties. I was trying to like change a little bit the equalizer to make it a little bit more high. It was really, really low.
You don't want to know the number of events and like podcast episodes where it's the very first thing I've done that day. Like, not even brush my teeth yet. Just like roll out of bed.
Really?
Yeah, dude. That's like, I don't wake up until I have to most days. And then I work until I fall asleep. It's kind of like how I'll do it.
But today you wanted to be here at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
So what about that?
Because I'll wake up early if I have a reason to. Right. I try to schedule things in the morning so that I right away like awake and moving. But otherwise, I stay in bed until I have to.
I'm the same. I also need some motivation. Maybe sometimes I think I should try to change that to be a little more productive.
My only hack is like just schedule meetings in the morning and then that gets me up. Well, because once I'm going, but I won't.
But I always feel that I'm waking up and people realize that I just woke up and they were like, "Wait, isn't it like 10 or 10:30?" Like,
it's good you have the short hair. You know, you don't have the bedhead situation. I do.
But I get my eyes. Like you can see in my
eye drops.
Yeah, eye drops. Do you think it changes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Good trick.
That's what I use.
Yeah. So we are both working or building a community for indie makers.
Yeah.
And
how long have you been doing WB?
I've been doing WB since, I would say I started for real like in November 2021.
And then how long were you working on it for Pretend?
For Pretend, so I guess we can already get into a little bit of the story how I came up with the idea of building the WB. Because it's kind of, I never planned it. It was never something that was like, you know what, I will build a community. I didn't even know that there was a possibility to build a community. This could be even a business. So I quit my job in 2021, so last year, around the summer, the beginning of the summer. So it was beginning of June. And I had this idea that I wanted to focus 100% in my project. Because since ever that I want to be an entrepreneur. You know, when you have these kids that they tell you, since I was 8 or something, and you want to be a doctor or something like this. Yeah. I felt that I never had any passion for that, for anything. Mm-hmm. It's like I wanted to be, I don't know, something. I was like a football player or something, you know, this kind of utopic dreams. And then but now if I think about it, if I go back to one of my early memories, it was like me and my friends making these kind of bookmarks and selling to our like colleagues. We were like, I don't know.
Friends,
but we were in first grade
they're
or
kids.
second grade or something. We were kids.
I wish kids would call each other colleague. That'd be so cute. It's like 5-year-olds like, yeah, my colleague Sarah was pulling my hair today. She's a meanie.
Maybe that's
Brought it
this
to
fancy,
management.
maybe those fancy schools were like
This is how private school is.
yeah,
right?
private schools were like super rich. Yeah, so I remember like selling this at some point. The teachers told us that we couldn't make money out of this, but I remember like actually selling, and the kids would give their lunch money or something. And so,
Yeah.
by the way, bullies, you don't need to threaten people. You can just sell them bookmarks.
We used to make like origami ninja stars and sell those. It's like
Yeah?
2 sheets of paper. You turn them into a ninja star. You can really like
Wow,
do some damage with that. So
I would
kids love
love
them.
to. You
$1
need
each.
to teach me.
Steal
I'll
the
do that.
paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I still remember, but I'm sure I could find a tutorial. I used to make ninja stars, little like paper balloons and cranes and stuff.
Yeah, and sell it.
Yeah, sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah, the ninja stars especially, kids would pay like $1 for them.
That's so interesting. We literally started our business with a piece of paper. You know, when
Yeah,
it's like
that's
you
all
just
you
need a
need.
piece of paper, and that's what we needed.
Just need
Yeah.
paper and then how to fold it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's perfect. Yeah, so
I mean, you had to you had bigger dreams because bigger body. You had the opportunity to be a footballer. Me, I was little from the get-go, so I was always entrepreneur.
Well, I mean a soccer player, not like I don't know if
Yeah.
you're thinking about the American football.
I feel like soccer players are still
Yeah.
like, they're big and athletic and they can.
Yeah, well, you also have
But not
small ones.
Messi,
You have Messi,
so.
yeah. But the problem was not my
Athleticism.
my athleticism or my stature was like I was just never good at it.
Yeah.
I know I always played football.
I think your problem was the athleticism then, right?
Yeah, I guess yes, the athleticism, but I was good at other sports, but never like soccer. Well, I was not extremely bad, but yeah.
So why did
Soon
you?
I could see that I
Why did you
would
quit your
never.
job in 2021?
So 2021, yeah. So I was like, yeah, I want to do this. I want to focus.
What were you doing before?
So before I was a software developer,
Okay.
I worked at the Trivago Hotel Trivago. You know this company?
Yeah.
And then it was funny because then I left Trivago. I went to work in another kind of travel industry startup, very small, 15 people only. It was super fun, a completely different situation there because we were just 15 and you can really feel your impact. And then COVID hit, and then this company was bought by Trivago. So then I was back at Trivago. And then, Curly and I wanted to go back to Portugal and think, okay, this is the best opportunity now because COVID is hitting and everything is so messed up. Everyone is working from home anyways. I don't want to stay here. I don't want to work at Trivago anymore. It's my opportunity to quit my job. And then in Germany, it's great because if you quit your job, you get unemployment money as well. So you just get blocked for 3 months, but then they pay you. So I was like, okay, I'm basically being paid to do my own stuff. So yeah, it was definitely a great timing to do that. And I started by working. Bless you.
Thank you.
I started by working on another project, and at the same time, I started this podcast, the Wannabe Entrepreneur, as a way like I love podcasting, and I just wanted to vent, a way to kind of speak about my journey. And then people liked it, and I continued, and then I created a way to somehow make money, which was memberships.
So podcast first, then community.
Exactly. So then I at first I was like, okay, you can just support me like Patreon, but then I wanted to give something in return, so I started adding people into the Slack channel.
Right.
And then I started also adding the people I interviewed to the Slack channel. But I had no idea this would turn out to be a community. I thought that normally these Slack channels, like no one uses it. But then people just like chatting a lot with each other, and they had a lot of fun, and they were sharing their projects. And then around November, that's when I realized, wait, maybe this is the product, not the podcast. This is not just a supplement of the podcast. This should be its own entity. And that's how I started.
It's kind of interesting, like the parallels. So yesterday I was talking to Daniel Vassallo, who like also has a community.
That was fun.
Yeah, but he's told me something really similar, like during that conversation, which was his community started as just on Discord as just like a way to kind of coordinate the courses he was doing, because he was running these like small bets courses. And he phrased it almost the same way. He was like, oh, like maybe the community itself can be a product.
Yeah.
But it started the same way. Like he was just adding people from the course as like a way to have one channel to talk to them all. And then, you know, it like kind of naturally became an active community. He was like, oh, maybe I'll just sell memberships to this.
Yeah. And he's making tons, right?
He's doing really good. I think he was saying he's doing like 30 grand a month from his community. But I was
30 grand.
Yeah, I don't think it's
my
recurring
God.
though. I think they're like
That's amazing.
one-off. But you got to compare like the size of his audience, right? Like he's got 100,000 people following him on Twitter. So that's like a huge platform to reach a lot of people.
Yeah. And I would love to get into what are your thoughts on this kind of businesses, because a lot of people might even say that this is those who can do it. There's this saying: if you cannot do, you teach. In this case, if you cannot do it, you basically start
a community.
I'd love to speak about it, but first, I would love also to hear your story on how you started Indie Worldwide.
Yeah, so it was kind of the other way around. We started as a community, and then now we also have a podcast and other content.
Okay.
And I started the podcast just as an excuse to talk to interesting people. And
That's a great way to do it. Yeah.
For the community. So anytime someone actually listens to it, it's like a kind of a bonus. Like I already got the bug. I got to talk to someone interesting. But you know, so I started mine like almost 4 years ago now. I was nomadic. I was starting in-person meetups. So I started Indie Hackers Medellin, Colombia, Indie Hackers Mexico City, Indie Hackers Boston, Indie Hackers Worldwide. And then as it started to take on a life of its own. So at first we were just a virtual version of an in-person meetup. We'd meet once a month on Zoom, just like chat about whatever we were working on, started to add people to Slack for convenience. And once like that started to take on a life of its own, I still didn't think of it as a business, but just as like a group of people that I wanted to be friends with.
Right. Because it was for free
to
join,
free.
Right?
It's free. Basically, we started charging not for access to the community, but for access to one-on-one introductions.
Right.
Or about a year and a half ago. That was free too until the members of the matching club were like, hey, Anthony, like, this is kind of valuable compared to everything else you're doing. So let me pay you for that. It's like, oh, you want to pay me? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I was just charging like, I don't know, like $40 one time. And raised it, okay, 60, okay, 80. And like, so the first year, that made like $5,000, and then we also made some money from sponsorships, and that was last year. And then this year, I started charging monthly for access to the whole community, so access to the Slack, access to the one-on-ones, access to like our partner resources and everything. And people started to pay. I was like, oh, okay, well, so I guess this is a business after all. Maybe I should quit consulting, which is the other thing I do. Is like fractional CTO type consulting. And just see how big I can make this. So 2 months ago, I quit consulting and went full-time on Indie Worldwide.
Yeah. And I've been extremely jealous of your growth, because you said, like, you know what, I'm focusing 100% in the community. And then every day, it seemed that your MRR was like doubling. It's like, 100. Oh, 300, 500.
Yeah.
And it's now what? 1,000?
It's right around 1,500. We hit 1,700. Then I screwed something up in Stripe or whatever, and like I broke the signups. Then I turned signups off for a week. So this last couple of weeks, we've been like, and then I also made it easier for people to manage their own billing. So we had some churn. Now we're back down to like 1,500. Now I've turned signups back on. So hopefully it can start to grow again.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
that's a costly mistake. So you started making money, and I guess now that we kind of introduced a little bit how we came to the community world, I guess we can start tackling these kind of questions, which is, first of all, what is the benefit of joining a community for indie hackers? In our case, for indie hackers, but can be a community of anything, really, right? So what do you think is the benefit?
I think it depends on the type of community. So there's like membership value communities where you join for the other people who are already a member. Right? So like you join a golf club, or like what are they called? Like a country club or whatever. Even if you don't like golf, because you want to meet other rich people who like golf, right?
For networking.
Yeah. Then there's other communities that are like information or knowledge based. It's like, oh, like there's information being shared here that I can't find elsewhere. It's like everyone here is working in finance or something. We share tips or whatever.
Right.
Or there's communities where it's like based around a goal. It's like, so we all want to become really good at knitting, and so we're joining the knitting club to learn how to knit and get better at that.
Yeah.
So I think a good community is like some combination of all those things. Like Indie Worldwide, you can join for the membership. You can join because of the shared goal. And you can also join because you can like find out the answers to questions there you might not be able to find elsewhere. How do you think about it?
Yeah. No, I think you summarized it really, really well. I do think that people normally join communities, but again, I'm mostly in our world, in let's say the indie hacking world, because I don't know much about the country clubs and everything. But what I've realized, what I've noticed, that either people sometimes join because they are desperate to showcase their products. So they are trying to do it everywhere. So they do it on Reddit first, on Twitter, and then they try to find Discord channels or Slack channels. And I think
We call those spammers.
yeah, they're called spammers, or to be honest, I've been one, and sometimes I am one. So
I don't think that's necessarily a bad. Like, I think it's not necessarily a bad sign for an entrepreneur to be a little bit too aggressive on marketing. Like, I think it's something a lot of people learn.
Yeah.
Like, first it's like, oh, okay, I got to post everywhere in order to get any attention. And that, like, kind of, like, aggressiveness, I think is a good sign that they are moving in the right direction. But you kind of have to figure out, like, okay, like, this is not that effective. Let me find better ways of getting my message out there.
Exactly.
So, like, when I started Indie Worldwide, like, part of it was like, oh, I want a place where I can post stuff and not be banned, because like that sucks. And so a lot of times when people post things and it's not like adding value to the community, I don't like kick them out right away. I delete the post and I tell them like you can't do this because of X. Like, here's a different idea for how you could promote yourself, but have it give value to the community.
Yeah.
So like the other day, somebody posted, it was just like a link to their podcast. I'm like, like, don't post that.
Yeah.
If you want to post it,
Sorry, by the way.
talk about how you've grown your podcast. You know, like what, because we're focused on founders and like growth and marketing. So like, how have you been marketing your podcast? What's working?
Yeah.
Like, what things have you learned from it?
True. But I still feel that obviously you'll soon realize that you cannot just go there and put your link and expect for people to, oh, a link, let me click. Like most people won't do it. And you realize that you need to do it in different ways, right? As you said, you need to create content that is valuable around your product. And a lot of people do this, for instance, on Twitter, indie hackers, Reddit, this kind of ways, so that people won't call you fully a spammer. But I would say that your intent is still to do marketing, right? So you join a community to do this kind of marketing. And a lot of people say that...
I think this is much more of a problem too in the free communities, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Once I put a paywall on Indie Worldwide, spam basically dropped to zero, because if you have to pay to post, you're just not gonna. You're gonna join for better reasons.
Exactly. So that's what I was about to say as well. So one reason is for marketing, and I see a lot of people doing that, joining communities for marketing. The other reason is to share a journey and to learn, as you said, with others. And that's what I noticed when I started the WB space, is that we didn't have, even now, we didn't have any spam whatsoever. So because of the paywall, as you said, people came and they just wanted to meet other like-minded people. So that's another reason why people join, especially in indie hackers. It's really hard to find people with a similar mindset. So you can join a community to find people with a similar mindset.
Yeah, I think of it sometimes as like the value of an audience, right? So there's a lot of value to having like your own personal audience. You can ask questions and get them answered really quickly. You can get attention for ideas. You can get people to support what you're working on. And I think you get a lot of the same benefits by joining a private community too. It's like people pay attention to each other so much more in those spaces that you can come in with no audience at all. But because you're in the same space and everyone knows you're coming from the same place, and you already like passed whatever the gates are, whether they're like, oh, you have to be on the podcast first, or like you have to pay a membership fee, that they're much more invested in you to begin with. So when you post something, you ask a question, you actually get an answer.
Yeah, exactly.
Or, you know, you could spend 3 years building an audience first and get some of that same value.
Yeah, you can also, exactly. So
do you want to spend 3 years or, you know, $30?
It's a growth hack as well. Like you have this audience, and you have also something that I really appreciate, that I don't like about Twitter and these other, let's call them communities. Some people call them communities. I'm not sure if they're social media or communities, whatever. But the audience on Twitter, for example, is never really yours. You're like renting this audience, and you lose it sometimes if there's an algorithm change, if you get banned. If you stop posting, you don't have this audience anymore. And if you stop posting for, let's say, a year, and then you return, you post, and then no one will answer you.
Crickets.
Whereas in these communities, the audience is always there as long as you're paying, right? But
as long as the community is active, right?
Like as long as the community is active, you can just answer or ask a question, and people will always answer you most of the times if it's a good question. But yeah,
so that's why you join a community. But why do you start a community?
Yeah, it's but before we go to that, there's also another, and you mentioned another reason why I think people might join communities, as you said, is to learn from others. So in the WB space, people are kind of all in the same level. We are all wannabe entrepreneurs or like bootstrappers, but in the starting level. So no one is really making a lot of money out of that. But I guess, for instance, if you join a Daniel Vassallo kind of community, or maybe Ramen Club, which
I'd say Indie Worldwide
Indie Worldwide as well.
Like we range from idea stage to $1 million business stage, even like unicorn company stage.
So do you have people with making that amount of?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you motivate these people that are in another level? To be there and pay for it.
I took a really direct path for that, where when you join Indie Worldwide, part of what you're paying for is introductions to other founders making the same amount of money as you are.
Okay.
So you tell me how much you're making, and then I introduce you to the other people at that level.
Okay. But you want to be introduced to someone making more money, you know?
You want to be within like an order of magnitude, you know? So if you're making $1 million a year, I'll mostly introduce you to other people at that same level or a bit above or a bit below.
Okay.
You know?
So you have this matching service that you need to do it yourself. You need to.
At first, I did it by hand. Then I wrote some code to do it, and like Google Sheet plus Node.js scripts. Recently, we switched to a platform, like a no-code tool called Intros that we're trying out. Seems to work just as well, so I think we're gonna stick with it.
So how does it work? People introduce their data there, then it matches.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It works pretty similar to the way I was running it before. I just had this like algorithm that would look at several factors, but mostly revenue, and then try to make conversations from that.
That's interesting.
It works really well. Like that's the first thing people wanted to pay for was the intro service.
Yeah. I think you tweeted recently about it. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I read some tweet where you said that if you want to know why people buy your product, talk with your users. Or was it you? Something like this?
I don't know. I tweet a lot of shit.
Yeah. No, but
gotta maintain the
audience. That's kind of the that's the point. But that's kind of the point, right? Like you need to ask your users and really understand why they are in your community, and you've done that as well, right?
Yeah, like everything I ship for Indie Worldwide is based directly on talking to people in Indie Worldwide. So I don't really have to guess what to build. Yeah, because I'm talking to them all day long. You know, I'm like just as embedded as you can possibly be with that crowd, right? So there's plenty of product ideas, and so this like intro service came from like how do I get more people to be friends with each other in this group? I don't want them just being friends with me. So then I may as well just do that on Twitter. I want them to be friends with each other. Where the value is the network, not myself, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And so I was like, how do I get people to talk to each other one-on-one? It's like, let me just literally introduce people one-on-one to each other.
Yeah.
And so it started as just like a Google form. People filled out their information. The first round, I just like went through it manually. It's like, okay, Vulcan should talk to Mark, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And the second week, because I was like, all right, let's do this every week. I was like, oh shit, like this is already like traveling salesman hard kind of problem, because I have to factor in who's met who already and like plan around that. So then I wrote a script that kind of like figured those things out for me. And I just like every week I'd make the algorithm a little bit better. Now it kind of looks like the Matrix is running like when I hit it, because like
it's so
taking
cool.
all these things
That's
into
so
account.
Cool, yeah.
Then like someone had the idea to turn that into a SaaS, not from our community, but like outside of our community. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll switch to that because it came with all kinds of nice to haves like scheduling and hosting and email reminders and stuff that I didn't really want to implement myself as a solo founder.
How much do you pay for that service?
I don't think we're paying for it.
Really?
Because the founder joined the community. I had actually met him in New York in person a couple times, but then he joined the community. And then I was like, all right, like, if you're going to be in this community, then we'll definitely go ahead. Like, I try as much as possible to use community members' software. So, like, the best way to get me to buy something is to join the group, you know?
Now you'll have a lot of people joining.
Literally, like, I've switched out
pitching to you.
Typeform for Tally because Marie's been in the community for a long time.
Yeah.
Or we're hosted on Hopin because the founder of Hopin was a community member. We use Featherblog because Banu's in the community.
Yeah.
Like literally, like the whole Indie Worldwide like community platform is just built on Indie Worldwide members tools. Yeah.
I also use, but more personally, I use some tools from the community. I use Hivoi from Luca that basically automates your DMs. It's really cool. And I use FameWall from Gotham that kind of creates these review walls from Twitter. So it's really cool. And so yeah, those two. And normally they offer like cheap prices for community members, which is always nice.
I think you've done a really good job at building your own solutions. Even like the one-on-ones is like the only thing I've implemented myself. You got all kinds of integrations in your Slack.
I love that actually.
They're sick.
I love this.
I love your streak bot.
Yeah, the streak bot. It's something that I've created, which basically we have a group called What I'm Doing Today, where people every day go there and share what they are doing, and then I realized that people were actually active. It's actually, by the way, a funny story. I started by calling it the stand-up. You know what's a stand-up? So the stand-up, for the ones that do not know, is like normally in the tech world, you have these meetings every day, normally in the morning, where the developing team gets together and they say what they're going to work. So I thought, okay, this is cool. I will create it. And no one was using it first. And then even a friend, they said like, maybe we should archive this channel. It's not very good. I archive it, but then I still felt the need because, as you said, I'm still very embedded in the community, and I am a user. So I changed the name to What I'm Doing Today, and then people were like using it quite often. And then I was like, you know what would be cool? To create a way to keep your streak. So if you do it every day, it increments. And then people loved it. They want to keep the streak. They would just like say, today it's a holiday, so I'm going, I don't know, to the beach with my kids. Sometimes
just
it's
to keep
not
the
even
streak.
Yeah, just to keep the streak. I think now Ian is the one that has the highest streak, which is 140 days.
That's great.
It's crazy, right? Like it's absurd. It's really cool. And if he misses one day, he will lose everything.
The activity level in your Slack is like really phenomenal. Like I feel like you said, like there's no like dead weight in your Slack right now. Like nobody is a spammer. Everybody is invested. Yeah. And I think because it is like a small group, like everyone seems to participate a lot. So I think like I snoop on everybody's Slacks, right? And yours has got very high engagement, proportional, especially to the size of the community, because it's not a huge group, but it's really active.
Yeah, I believe so. Even though it changed, like there's months where people are more active, months where people are not as active, and I do get a little bit anxious when I see when it drops.
Yeah, around August.
Do you feel the same? Yeah, August was man.
I definitely keep
terrible.
an eye on the engagement rate. Like I pay the most attention to how many people are posting, and like the quality of those posts. So it's definitely something I'm paying attention to. It doesn't necessarily make me anxious. Like our pace is kind of set by our events, right? Because we're like live events first, and Slack is kind of a bonus. Now maybe it's flipped a little, where it's like Slack and then live events, but we've always been really focused on like, okay, at least once a month we're gonna have like a live meetup online. That's always been like our core thing, right? So like people can be a part of Indie Worldwide and just be the email intros, or just go to the events, or just be on Slack. So it helps it not be so much just about the one thing, you know?
Yeah.
There's like a lot of different touch points.
I totally agree with the event situation, and that was one of my mistakes. I haven't organized an event for a long time, too long, because I can really see that after an event, people get more together and they get more active.
Yeah.
But one thing that was really hard is we have people from all over the world, and you as well. and it's extremely hard to find a schedule that works for everyone. So normally I would just schedule for Europe time, and sometimes some people from Asia would join, but mostly was only people from Europe, and the others will be like, hey, what about me?
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
It's like literally impossible to please everybody.
Yeah.
So I found the best is to focus first on just having one event that's around the same time and day every month. So people that can plan around it start to plan around it.
Right.
What I want to do over time is have hosts in the Americas, Europe, Africa, and Asia. And so like we have one event for each of them every month. Right now the way I do it is like, okay, like this is usually we have at least one event on a Thursday around like 12 p.m. New York time, which works for people in like Los Angeles, San Francisco. They get up a little early, and it works all the way into like India. They just stay up a little bit late. It covers most of the world.
Yeah. 12 p.m.
Yeah.
What's that UTC? You know?
It's like 5.
5 UTC. Okay.
Yeah, and then whenever I have a guest, then I just work with their hours, and so we'll have some events that are like Asia time or like SF time or Australia time or whatever.
Yeah, now I'm trying out. I created 3 different groups. One is I call it Americas, then the other one is Europe and Africa, and the other one is Asia and Oceania, and I'm actually planning 3 different events for each time. And let's see, we are having our event actually tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
So let's see if this
TFTI.
works better. Sorry?
Thanks for the invite.
No, you are in the group. You can see it. You actually do it public, right? Or no, it's only people in the community that can join?
I've experimented with both. Lately, all of our events have been public to join. Like anyone can join them, but we only advertise them in like spaces where there's a lot of indie hackers hanging out.
Yeah.
Might switch that back to private again, where it's like members only or do some kind of hybrid. I'm still like experimenting with what works best.
Yeah, ours have been only private, but you're welcome to join. You have 2 schedules tomorrow, one from Asia time and the other one Europe time. But you can join any.
What time is the Europe time one?
Europe time, I don't wanna trick you. I think it's like 4 or something. But a lot of people are going to hopefully. Participate in the Asia one, which is 10:30 here in Portugal. So I'll also be there. I think it'll be fun. But yeah, so this is kind of a way. One thing that I really like. So as you said, like I try to build everything myself.
Yeah.
And I maybe this is a mistake. I think this might be a mistake. I'm just passionate about coding and like seeing everything work and automate that and not pay a dime. I want like really hardcore bootstrapper. But I think that's a mistake. And I like your approach where you just try out things. I remember when you tried out the indie offices, that little tool that I created.
Like you did the join the Slack to get me to use it thing, I think. Because when you joined...
No, not that. I was there before. You invited me to join.
You're right.
Yeah.
And they were like, I'm working on indie offices. And I'm like, well, you're on Slack. Let's try it.
But it was not for... At least the first time I
you joined with noble intentions.
Yeah, not the intention. But then I thought, okay, if there's someone that might
Which is the right way to do it.
It would be Anthony.
So are you still working on that? Or
No, I put it on the side for now. It was extremely hard to get people to use it.
So
even though I think it's a great idea.
What was the concept for the unfamiliar? It's like virtual offices.
So the idea is that people are working their projects and they are alone in their room or their home office, whatever. So you could just join a virtual room, like a Slack, not Slack, like a Zoom room or something, where you can see others work. And we had like a Pomodoro timer and we had like a shared Pomodoro. So we could say like, okay, let's work for 30 minutes and then have a break and then work again. And it worked. I've done some really nice, interesting work sessions with some of the members, but it's extremely hard to get some engagement. And it was the same when you tried.
That's kind of what Ramen Club does, right? With this like work sessions, like virtual work sessions.
Yeah.
But I think they're more like events, where it's like this is only Saturday.
Yeah. They have a host as well, so they have a host that is a moderator.
Yeah.
That will like plan everything and then organize and. For me being only one person is extremely hard, but I like this approach of okay, let's pay someone or let's pay for software and try it out, see if it works. I don't have to spend hours trying to code it.
Yeah, you don't have to do everything yourself. There's so many tools out there.
Yeah.
The downside of that is then you end up using 1,000 tools. Like we use so many different stuff that it's actually become kind of like tech debt, where it's like the coordination of all these things gets more complex as we add new tools. And so kind of reining that in a little bit, trying to centralize things is like a challenge that comes with that. So now I am building maybe some software in order to just have like some single source of truth, at least for who is a member even. Like if you ask me how many members are there in Indie Worldwide, I'm like, well, how do you want to count them? Like it's hard to actually even know exactly how many people are in the community, because there's so many different, because we're using the events platform, the introduction platform, the chat platform.
But they all integrate with Slack or no?
Not really. Yeah, they don't.
So everyone has to go and like sign up in each platform.
Yeah. Okay, so then people are all over. Some people are in one and not the other.
Yeah. I wonder why don't they make it to integrate with Slack?
Well, there's a lot of community tools that are kind of integrated in Slack, but it's just kind of a mess. There's so many different softwares. And the ones that are like super integrated also sometimes come with a lot of lock-in, where it's like you have to do everything on the platform if you use the platform at all. It's like, well, I already have a lot of systems that work that aren't part of whatever your platform is, and I want to keep using them.
Yeah, interesting. I never thought of that downside. Yeah, I integrate mostly everything with Slack because they have a very good API. You can do all of this stuff. But so I have that bot. The other one, we also have our own matching. It's not as advanced as yours, I would say, but you join a channel and then there's this bot I didn't create. It's called Random Coffees, and then it matches two people together every week. And one thing that I created that I really like is a way so that people so that you're sure that people in that group are active, because sometimes people just lurk or just stop using Slack, but they're still in that group. They still get matched. And then it sucks because the other person wants to schedule coffee and gets no response. So I created another bot I called it Activity Bot. That if after 15 days, if after 7 days actually, if you have no activity, the bot will send you a message saying, hey, you better be active, otherwise I'll kick you out.
Have you found any way to automate kicking out though?
Yeah.
How do you do that? Because like I looked at the Slack and it's like, oh, you have to be enterprise grid level to use this.
You just use the API.
You got to show me how to do this, because like every time I like look in the Slack API, like can't figure it out.
You can use it. I was even today working on that. So now the bot basically after 15 days, if you don't like send a message or a reaction, it can be just a reaction, just like a little coffee or something, it will kick you out.
I want to bulk remove everyone who's like never accepted an invite and like anyone who's like inactive. For like too long or.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah. No problem.
Okay. I want to tighten it up a bit, because I feel like you join the Slack right now, you see like, oh, there's 4,000 people in here. Like, like this isn't too public. Like I don't want to share private details. I don't want to be myself here. I want to perform.
Yeah, true. Good point.
And I want to make it feel a bit more intimate.
Yeah.
I have a
bot for you if you want to test it. But I can share that. It's a really good way. So another question. You asked me, why did I create a community before, right?
Yeah, so I think Anna asked us on Twitter, is like, why a community business? Why not a SaaS business or an info product or get a real job?
I think we're getting into what is a community. So is it a real job? Is it like those who can't do, they create a community, or they teach, or they create an info product?
I mean, I think there's some truth to that. I started a community to learn, not because I was an expert.
Yeah, I started a community because that was the only way I could make money.
I think it's important to point out, like, I don't think most people are joining the community because of me. Maybe some people do now, but like from the beginning, the reason to join Indie Worldwide was not to talk to Anthony, it was to talk to all the other members. True. So like, I don't think it matters that I'm not $1 million SaaS founder, because the other members are, and that's who you're here to talk to. The people we invite to the events are. I'm just like the coordinator,
But I already got this question, like, what people asking me, like, what do I do special? Like, what is to prevent them from just like getting all of these people and starting a Discord channel or another Slack channel for free?
Go for it. Like, try. It's not easy.
That's something that I would love to discuss, because it's hard to really explain what a community manager is, and now it's getting like it's kind of a job, and there's people doing that as a job, and there's job offers in big companies like Notion, for instance. They have a lot of community managers, but it's a kind of one of those new jobs, right? So what is your work? What how would you describe to someone else what do you do for the community?
I mean, it's coordination, right? It's like getting interesting people in a room together. It's like the core of the job. Day to day is much more chaotic.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so many different sub skills, right? Like you've already highlighted, like the management of the group in the private space, or the kind of curation of a more public community, like what Notion does on Twitter and stuff. And then there's like building tools for communities, and then there's like marketing the community. There's many different skills that can kind of fall under that umbrella.
Yeah. So how is the normal day for you working in the worldwide?
Yeah, it's chaos. It's part of it'll just be responding to messages and stuff, and like connecting people to each other. A lot of
Do you have like a schedule?
No.
No?
No, like I'll schedule things, but I don't have a repeating schedule. Do you have a repeating schedule? Like, do you have habits?
I'm trying to get on that now. Before it was exactly, I was like answering and like some managing, some creating tools. But now I'm trying to be more like I wake up and I have, I think, 30 minutes of community management only. And then maybe a little bit of coding, and then that's it. I'm trying also to allocate less time for that project. But yeah, but that's very new. Before it used to be, as you said, like all scattered around.
Yeah.
But you're saying, so answering people because there's your personal messages as well, because you have friends, and then you have the organizational part. So
like in the community, it'll be like, oh, like Tiago wants to learn about podcast hosting. Oh, like Mark Stedman runs like a community for podcasters. Like, let me make that connection really quick. And then
so you read the messages, and then you just tag people.
Yeah, that's like a lot of it, just like tagging relevant people for conversations, or like giving my thoughts on things, pointing them towards resources. Like Indie Worldwide has a lot of resources for founders.
Yeah,
we have all these like partner deals, like free Stripe credits, free AWS credits, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like, oh, like you're building this, like here's $5,000 for free, like use this. And then it's like, so that's internal, and then there's external. It's like, who do people want to learn from? Who do people admire? Reaching out to them, getting them to come to our events. Just like organizing events in general and advertising them.
So there's a lot of work in trying to figure out what people want. There's a lot of work in trying to match people. And then there's also you just chatting with people, and also coding, testing new tools, doing all of that, right? Do you know how much time you allocate, or what takes the most time from you?
It really can vary week by week. Like my focus changes over time, and then I'll kind of circle back. But I don't really have like task lists. This is one of the things like I'm trying to improve now, is kind of like operationalizing. What I really am trying to do now is put other people in charge of certain jobs. Because I'm doing a lot of things at once, so they're all getting done, but not because none of them are my focus. They could all be done better, right?
Interesting.
So I'm like,
so community members, you want to get them more involved?
Yeah, the community members are just like part-time hires, basically. It's like, okay, like now you're in charge of facilitating conversations.
That's so interesting.
You're in charge of like producing the podcast or whatever,
But so you get one person from your community, an active member, and you decide to somehow promote them.
Not necessarily. So like right now I'm working with like a really smart consultant. Her name is Samantha. We kind of connected over Twitter first. Now she's a member of the community. She's helping with communities design and community management tasks. Yesterday, an old friend reached out from college who was like, hey, I'm kind of bored at my job. Like, I've seen what you've been posting. Can I help? I was like, yeah, you can help. I was like, so now he's going to be in charge of like producing the podcast.
Right.
There's a lot of these like kind of.
But do you pay them, or is it for free?
Samantha's getting paid right now. Dante just wanted to like volunteer.
Okay.
I want to pay everybody like salaries in the future. Right now we don't make enough money, but if I can grow it fast enough, my goal is to like build a team.
Interesting. I feel that you have such a much better business approach. Did you study business? No, software development. Or did you?
I studied software development,
Okay.
but since I was a kid, like I said, like
Right.
there was no sports star dreams. It was
Yeah.
always I'm gonna
Coding.
be an entrepreneur.
Alright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've read all the books. Like there's definitely diminishing returns with reading the books, but
Yeah.
and the reason again why I started New Worldwide in the first place was to learn how to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like the podcast is an excuse to talk to people that are smart and figure out how they did it.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been my goal.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a long time I was consulting with other startups, like helping them. So my specialty as a consultant was like 0 to 1. So you're a founder with an idea and a budget, and then I help you build a product and a team and like work processes.
Yeah.
Now I'm just doing that for Indie Worldwide.
Yeah. That's very interesting. Yeah, it's a completely different approach. I wonder if I shouldn't also just follow that, because for me it's more like, okay, build everything myself, as I said, and I wanted to get the people from the community as well more engaged and kind of promote them, to give more responsibility to them, so that I can also allocate some tasks for them. But yeah, I'm always afraid. So I don't know. First of all, like, should I pay them? Should I waive their subscription fee? But then what if I don't like their work? It might be awkward.
I think Charlie's done this really well. Charlie Ward, Ramen Club. Like, because he promotes, like, all the hosts are internal promotions.
Yeah.
Like, they were members, and his offer, he pays them, I don't know, a couple $100 to become a host per event, and then also a free membership. So it's like they were already a member. They were going to show up anyway. Yeah. Now they get paid to do the same thing they were doing.
Yeah, but what if you don't like their work? It might be awkward. Yeah, and then then okay, if you want to now be part of the community, you have to pay.
I guess. Like, I don't know if that's come up for him yet. We should ask. But at that point, it's like, it's business, not personal.
Yeah.
You know, you just be real with people. Like, be like, hey, let's try this, see if it works.
Yeah.
Like, no harm, no foul if it doesn't. You know, just be upfront about expectations and what like sign a prenup, you know? So, like, if you do need to divorce, there's... You've already negotiated that.
Sense, it's a weird job because, as you said, it's business, not personal, but it's hard not to be personal
when it's a community.
Because it's a community,
yeah, these are your friends.
It's funny because I use the community as well because it's satisfying a need that I have. You know, I need these people around me. So sometimes I'm sharing just stuff about the community. I'm like, today I will work on this for the community.
Yeah.
You know, I'm working for them because they are at the same time my clients and as well my friends. You know, so it's a very weird relationship at some point. What about marketing? So a lot of my time, if I think about it, is spent in marketing. And marketing has a lot of different nuances, a lot of things that you can do, right? You have Twitter, as you said, you have to create content for Twitter. Then you have to create these nice posters and flyers. You need to think about events, which are kind of also marketing, and then you need to promote those events. It's a lot of work that I wish I didn't have to do, but we have to do. What is your approach? How much time do you spend on that?
I'd say most of my time is probably like marketing in some way. You could say it's like a great way to do marketing is to figure out something you're already doing and then just like talk about it online. So like that's build in public on Twitter, right? You were doing the shit anyway. Now you just write a tweet about it every now and then, and like, hey, like that kind of checks the marketing box. I think one of the best ways to do marketing is figure out something your target audience wants and give it to them for free. And then people will share it and like it and join for that free thing. And then now you have like a relationship with them. You've given them something and like they're more inclined now to give you something back or like try your paid product. Right. So like our biggest lead gen, like magnet or whatever you want to call it is our challenges, right? So the 100-100 challenge is probably the first time we ran it, it doubled the size of the community. You know?
So what is that?
So the challenge is 100 users, 100 days. Get 100 new paying users in 100 days. It's a giant group challenge with like a public leaderboard, masterminds, workshops, demo days. It's basically startup school for bootstrappers.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, and we've run it twice now, both times for free, and both times, first time I think 500 founders signed up, this time like 450.
Wow.
So yeah, and there's just like literally like, okay, this is something... It started as, the first one was kind of funny. It was like, oh man, like, could I challenge myself to get 100 paying users in 100 days for like my intro service? And I posted, it was like, hey, would anybody else want to do this? Like, should we do it as a group challenge? A couple of people were like, yeah, let's do it. And then I got distracted, like didn't work on it. It's like weeks go by, and then a couple people comment like, "Hey, are we gonna do this?" I was like, "Oh, you guys are still interested? It must be a really good idea then." So then I launched it. It's the hackiest thing ever, dude. It's Google Sheets. It's like tally forms. Like literally, I just have like a set of different sheets that takes everyone's updates and signups and everything and turns it into like a Google Sheet API that I use to build the website on. The website is a card page with an embedded like vanilla JS snippet that renders the table. It's like the jankiest thing you've ever seen behind the scenes, but it works.
It's I totally relate to that. Sometimes I'm coding and thinking, what the fuck am I doing?
I'm
like, fuck, this code is terrible. It happens to me quite often.
How are people finding about you? Like, is it mostly the podcast?
No. So the podcast, it's just go for it. It's mostly Twitter and indie hackers. So those are definitely the best sources of traffic. Twitter, but indie hackers especially, I just create content, posts, or just answer other posts. You have a little bit of pastel.
Yeah, that's for later.
So I just go there and I see a lot of posts, and if let's say someone is asking what's your MRR growth, and I say like for the WB space, and the cool thing about indie hackers is that you have the markdown and you can just like tag it and you don't have to put the link. So I just say for the WB space, this was my MRR growth, and a lot of people click. So I was getting a lot of traffic from indie hackers. But then the downside is, first of all, you need to put a lot of work there, like every day. It's annoying. Like you have to open, and I always think like, do you want to do this in the next 5 years? Like going there, clicking and answering, it's really annoying at some point. And then also some people started to complain about spam. I got a moderator telling, "Hey Tiago, can you please tune it down a little bit?" And I told him like, no. I say I cannot. Like the reason why I'm here mostly is to do marketing, and of course I'm not just like spamming my stuff. As you said, I'm creating content that is valuable, but like always all kind of text. So I told him that I couldn't stop, but I eventually stopped because I got demotivated. Funny enough, I created a post about how to get traffic from indie hackers where I explained all my method, and then it got featured in their newsletter.
Nice.
But then I stopped. I actually stopped since they told me that. I got a bit discouraged, and I immediately saw my traffic going down, and it's super annoying because you need to do this actively to get users. So now I'm focusing more in trying to come up with SEO and more automatic ways to get traffic, but it's a long-term game. It will take some time.
Talking to the community a lot about this too, like especially with Soup Paul, who maybe you know, he's like runs Launchman, which is like a programmatic SEO service, and then also with Samantha, who's like helping me design the community. And so like with Samantha, we're talking about like the difference between marketing funnels versus a marketing flywheel, right? So marketing funnels, like what you're talking about, you post in these places where your audience hangs out. Some percent of them click, some percent of them convert. The marketing flywheel is like, okay, so now instead of you making the posts, your community members make posts that drive people back to the community, right? And so that pairs really well with like programmatic SEO, where like like that's how indie hackers itself works, right? People make posts about themselves, about their product, in public space, and so Google can crawl it. People can share individual pages, so it creates a flywheel effect where people come to indie hackers through like search and through word of mouth and sharing and stuff like that. So neither of our communities really have something like that.
I have it now. Actually, I created something around that where I basically one of our groups is called Looking for Advice, where people ask questions. It's a lot of tech related questions, but sometimes more about marketing or business in general. And I found there's really interesting content there.
Shake the mouse again.
Go for it. But there's also one problem. There's two problems. One is that Slack, it's really hard to go back and see the old questions. And two, we are both in the free version of Slack. So at some point we have a limit amount of messages that you can access. So this content will be lost. So I thought, okay, what I can do is have a script that goes through this channel and create and puts everything into the website and store everything into a database. So that's something that I've done. I've done it like last week.
We're using. So you built it. I'm using Premade software that does that.
Exactly. We spoke about this. You're using a tool.
Yeah, we haven't really started using it yet, but we're set up. So now like we can like highlight really good posts and have them be like publicly visible and stuff. But I want to kind of figure out how to paywall some of that stuff first. Like, so like I want the benefits of being indexable, but also the benefits of like I don't want to give everything away for free. You know?
Yeah.
It's always this challenge of like what parts of the community are like part of our marketing and what parts are part of the value of the community.
Exactly. That's a good point. Yeah. So for me, I'm just trying with this specific channel. And then let's see if in the Google will start index it or not.
Or you should talk to Suk about it because he might be able to help you.
Yeah, definitely. So let's see. But
I feel like this whole podcast is just me like selling other people's services.
Yeah, no, it's completely fine. That's by the way another interesting thing, which is sponsorships in the podcast. So I always feel that I don't want to do any kind of advertisement or I don't want to be paid or be sponsored.
Yeah.
But it's extremely hard to make money with a podcast.
I think you'll find like indie hackers are one of the most understanding of like paid promotion because everyone's trying to make money and trying to build a business.
But I don't like I personally don't like it. For instance, one podcast that I really like is Arvid's podcast. Very short, but really cool. But like half of it now is an advertisement for microacquire. And it's so annoying. I hate it. Yeah. Because he starts speaking about microacquire and like skipping. It's like still skipping.
I think it's the most annoying when it's like the same ad every podcast. It's like I've heard it already. Skip it.
Yeah.
You know, when it's like different and presented differently every time, I don't mind as much.
Yeah.
Like the YouTubers where like YouTubers are always like segueing nicely into their ads.
Yeah, true.
Or like Mr. Beast will like give his ad spiel during part of the competition or whatever. So like you're still actually watching the show.
Yeah, a different kind of product placement. Right?
Yeah. I think he can do it in ways that aren't so jarring.
Mm-hmm.
Like you do it in your way, you know, like there's no rule. You don't have to do it how anybody else is doing it. You can do it how it makes sense.
Yeah, but in the perfect world, my podcast is the product itself. Like, why do I need to find another way to make money? I don't know. I wish that I could just like people just pay for it, and I hope that we are going towards that. You could just promote
your community more during.
I do that.
You do that, and does it drive conversions? Do people sign up?
I don't have a lot of people listening to the podcast, so it's about I think the audience 150 people.
Okay.
So it's always the same 150 people.
Yeah.
That come and listen, which is don't get me wrong, I love it. Like the fact that there's 150 people listen to me every week. Yeah. It's great.
It's probably not worth it to monetize yet. Then it's probably better to focus on growing it.
For ads also. But yeah, I put a lot of work on that. I recently also created a script that pushed all my episodes to YouTube, which is cool because I can get a little bit of their algorithm. Hopefully it will also start working. But it's an interesting topic. Do we have any more questions that we did not answer? I remember that Max also did something. Sneha Saigal. Sorry if I'm not saying your name correctly.
Shout out to Sneha.
Yeah. Asked, what are the different ways in which you can build this community? What are the different ways?
Well, there's I think there's a couple ways to interpret that. One's like practically like what platforms do you use?
Yeah.
I use Slack, Discord.
Yeah.
The answer to that's kind of easy. It's like where do your prospective members already hang out? Like try to build it where they already are. Entrepreneurs, a lot of them are already like they're tech workers or whatever. They're already using Slack. It makes a lot of sense. Or they're using Discord. The other way to interpret it is like how do you find the people that should join? Like how do you curate that? How would you answer that question?
How do you create the people that should join?
Yeah, like how do you convince them to join? How do you find the right people to join?
That's a great point. That's a great question because first of all, you need to understand why people want to join. So you need to understand your target user first, and that requires a lot of effort. So it really depends if you already know that or not. In the beginning, it's kind of for me, it's indie hackers or at first was entrepreneurs. It was like
that's kind of broad though. Do you want every single entrepreneur? Or do you have like a specific person in mind?
So then people start joining and you start asking them and you start kind of narrowing down and understanding what all of them have in common, and now I have a much better vision on how and what kind of people want to join the community. So for me, I know that it's like bootstrappers, most of them doing this on the side still, most of them are developers, so you can paint a much better picture of the users. But yeah, in general, you just kind of realize what is your topic, and you start, trying to get people around, and then you start figuring out which one fits best.
Yeah.
But you were saying also regarding Slack and Discord. Why did you choose Slack and not Discord?
People were already using Slack. People are also already using Discord, but I wasn't as familiar with it. So I kind of just went with like what I like to use.
Yeah.
So that's why I went for Slack.
Mm-hmm.
Some people would rather we did Discord, but either you need to build some kind of, you can never really fully migrate a community from one platform to another. Like you're going to lose people. So we could either build a Slack Discord bridge. Some people have done that before. I think Nomad List does this.
Yeah.
Maybe do that at some point. I don't think it's really that worthwhile. Like my focus is just on creating different ways people can participate. So Slack is where we chat, but like the live events are where we meet,
Yeah, but the main platform.
Slack, and maybe when there's a team, I'll think about this more. But, like, I have trouble like building a project to the end when I'm not being paid to do it. You know, like for some reason, it's much easier for me to build software for other people than for myself.
Well, yeah, I totally get that.
It's like as soon as I sit down to build it myself, the scope explodes because there's so many things that I could build and then it doesn't end up getting built. It's kind of why I've gone more and more towards no code, where it's like, all right, there's constraints. It's like the difference between starting with a blank piece of paper to write your essay and already having like an outline, It's like I'll go with the no code tools where they're already kind of built and just like work around them. Move faster that way.
Yeah, I totally relate to that. For me, if I don't have users or if I don't have people paying for it, it's not worth it to like invest a lot of my time.
Yeah. So the only things I've like successfully built are like the challenge, because people were asking me to do it. It's like, okay, I got to do it. Then a bunch of people signed up and I was like, shit, now I really got to do it. It's like, oh, they're expecting stuff every week. Like I got to deliver on these promises I made. So then I was able to execute. Same thing with the 101s. It's like, oh, people like are expecting this to be good and done. It's like, I need to do it.
Yeah.
And like, I need to like cut out all the other ideas that are in the way of getting it done. In the absence of like that, like external motivation,
pressure,
it's hard to like actually finish any software.
And I think that's the right way to do it as well.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people that just build everything, a huge product, and then in reality, no one wants to use it.
Yeah.
Another question from Maxwell Davis. Hey, Max.
Sup, Max?
Sup? He asks, how do you demonstrate the value of community?
Yeah, I was kind of touching back towards like what is the value of a community to begin with, right? We already talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, so then like how do you demonstrate that? I think the best way to, maybe I'll just take this one. So like the best way I think to demonstrate the value is to promote your members. Like, who are they? What are they doing? Why are they cool? You know?
Okay.
How do you think about it?
I think, it's a great question because I struggle with this a lot. What I'm trying to do maybe is not exactly the best way. For sure, the members, I agree. And then the features. So the features that people use the most, I try to highlight them somehow. So, for instance, the matching or the random coffees that people really enjoy, I try to say like, hey, this is what we do.
This is features versus benefits, though. You got to talk about the benefits. So like, my favorite story to tell is like, these two founders met through the community or through like an introduction. Now they're working together on X, or like now they've partnered on Y, It's like, Mark and Mike, they met during an event. Now they're hosting a podcast together. Or Banu found Vinod's software, and now it's like helped him grow his business by this much. It's like
so you give
so the benefit is the partnership,
and
then the feature is like, the feature that they used to meet was like the chat or like the 101s,
right?
But the benefit is like this partnership, this friendship.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. very interesting. Maybe I should also do that.
Because you don't join like an intro club to like talk to people. You join it to like make a friend, right? Or like
right.
make a sale or find a partner.
Yeah, so you kind of show them already the benefits or what already came up from the community,
Right?
instead of like what they can do in the community.
Yeah, no one wants to join a community, right? They want like all the things they'll get from being a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Interesting. Yeah.
I don't want to go to the dentist. I just want my teeth to be clean.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Yeah, that's definitely a great answer. I think that's. So is that something that you put on your landing page? Those stories?
Try to. I think it's really hard to write good copy that like explains things in a way that resonates emotionally and like is about the value and not the feature. It's really hard. I think we're doing an okay job about it, but we could always do better. You know, every time I look at it, I'm like, okay, like maybe I'll just start from scratch. Do better next time.
Yeah.
Probably done it over from scratch a few times.
Me too.
The
landing page. Yeah, I've been focusing more on the features, but maybe you're right. I should just focus more on the kind of relationships and connections that came from the community. But I've been focusing on like, people like this. So, but I do think that when you're building a landing page, there's two approaches. One is like, what are you doing? So for people that, let's take the example of Highway, for instance. I was looking for a way to automate my welcome DMs. So that's what I want to see. When I open the landing page, I just want to see, we automate your DMs. Perfect. Yeah. That's it.
This is like the jobs to be done approach, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then you have the approach of like trying to explain the benefit of automating DMs. So for people that are not necessarily looking to automate their DMs, you just say, Tiago used our product and his sales increased by X%. And then you're like, okay, cool. I want my sales to increase by X%. So let's use that.
I think it depends on who's coming to your landing page and why. Like people already understand why they want to send DMs. They're just looking for a tool that does it, right? So you want to say, we send DMs. The community maybe maybe they have a job to be done where it's like, grow your startup faster, you know, join this community.
Yeah, true.
I should probably change my copy. That sounds great.
Yeah. But that's very abstract though. Because if I would read that and then join the community, that says nothing to me.
I think this is like...
So I like the idea of the relationship you say. Like, in the community, these people met and now they are working together. Or in the community, this person entered with $100 MRR, now it's 1,000. And you're like, okay, cool. There's something that I can take off.
I think the jobs to be done converts better than benefits, which converts better than like features.
Yeah, I should do that. I should try that.
Because like the 100-100 page converts way better than our Indie Worldwide page because it's more focused. It's like, join this to get 100 new users. Everybody wants 100 new users.
Yeah, true. It's a very good point. Interesting. What other communities have you tried out in our scope? Or not? I guess
like
scope.
Founders Summit, Wannabe Entrepreneur. Never done Ramen Club. I just like admire it from afar.
Do you think it's important
Product Hunt
for us to join other communities?
I think it's good to see what other people are doing well and like take from it, like learn from them. Yeah. Or the Nathan Laka's got a community. I don't know how active it is right now, but they do some things well. I'm in a bunch. I'd have to like check my Slack.
Is there any community besides Indie Worldwide that you use often?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like Twitter, I guess. But
like
there's communities on Twitter, but like Twitter itself is not a community.
Exactly. Isn't that odd that the creator of a community only uses his own community? And I do the same. So,
like I made it to be the community that I want to exist, right?
Yeah.
And you can't actually build a community, right? Like, not like the way you can build a SaaS. When you're building a SaaS, the thing you build is the thing. You're writing code, that is the SaaS. When you're building a community, the thing you're building is a place for people to hang out, like a reason for them to gather. You don't build people, right? The people join the community. The community is those people.
Right.
So you'd never actually build a community. You like cultivate a community. You create space for a community, right? Yeah. So you're herding sheep in a way, or you're like creating an event. You're creating an experience, but you don't actually build a community in the same way.
Yeah, like you're planting the seeds and hope that they will grow, but
Yeah.
you cannot control the growing process somehow. Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah.
Like when the things you're building, you're not building community, you're building tools for your community. You're like building an interesting space, you're finding interesting people to join it.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
But you can't write code that says, okay, create person Tiago
Exactly.
who is interested in X, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think now we kind of shared a little bit more light on what is our job as community managers, right? You get the organization, curating events, marketing, coding, or finding tools. So there's a lot of different things going on. It's not only like coding, like maybe a SaaS where it's mostly coding and marketing, but it's a big spectrum of different tasks.
Do you have goals? Like, do you have an end game in mind with Wannabe Entrepreneurs? Are you still working on it 10 years from now?
Wow, great question. My goal, I don't have long-term goals. I have short-term goals. Which was to like reach ramen. I start to question now if a community can ever make like a lot of money.
Oh, Dan's is doing 30 grand a month.
Yeah, that's true.
Founders Cafe,
but
I think, makes
that's
like 10
different.
grand a month.
Yeah, that's a different community that Daniel's Fasalo. It's more like you go there to learn from experts, I would say. No, I'm not entirely sure, but like in our kind of community, yours is a little bit like that. For mine is you're going to find a group of people like yourself. I don't know.
You got like,
hopefully it's possible to reach that.
There's a lot of communities that make a lot of money. You know, you got like the trends community. There's 2 different trends communities that both make quite a lot of money.
Okay.
There's different like private groups for entrepreneurs. There's like various like conference kind of based communities. There's a lot of communities making a lot more money than even are.
Rose Cherry, she made a lot of money with the QA.
I think that
Ministry of QA or something.
You got to find like a kind of productize it a bit, and then you need to really figure out your marketing if you're gonna grow.
But do they have the same business model as we do? Though?
Like just paid memberships. Yeah.
They do? Okay, great. Then that's my goal.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Like definitely trying to reach a certain... Okay, my goal now for the community and putting money aside is to find a way to get users or new users in the community without me having to spend every day creating content and doing marketing, like this kind of hard marketing. I would like to have a more passive kind of marketing going on. So that's definitely my goal at the moment, so that I could just focus on the part of community building, and then all this part of like bringing people around, it's automated. And with that, hopefully then obviously get to a nice MRR. It does not need to be 30K. I would be happy
What
with
is
10K.
your baseline? Like, what's ramen profitable for you?
Ramen. Well, what is ramen profitability? I think so. Ramen is like the minimum you need to live.
Like, what are your expenses per month now? Like, what do you need to make in order to cover them?
Yeah.
That's what I consider ramen profitable.
So,
and you can either reduce your expenses or increase your revenue.
Okay, so with your lifestyle, if you want to maintain a certain lifestyle, right? Like, I would say that I would need at least 1,500 to maintain the lifestyle.
And you're like 30%.
It's 20%, I guess, 25%. Yeah, because I'm now at 500. No, so less 30%. I think you're right. Yeah. But then again, one thing that is so discouraging is when I speak with my colleagues and friends, developers, and the amount of money they are making. Yeah, I mean, this might discourage a lot of entrepreneurs out there, because it's so much money. Like even now, developers now are making like 100K, 150K. This amount of money is like, oh my god! Like, at first my goal was like, I want to make the same salary as a developer with my own projects, and I'm thinking, okay, that's practically impossible. It's crazy.
I think if your motivation's money, then like building a community is not a very efficient way to get there. Yeah, it takes a long time to figure it out and like build up trust and like create that experience. It gets easier as you get better at it.
Yeah.
but it's a much longer path than just getting a job.
What is your goal?
Right now, my goal is to build like the best online startup accelerator for bootstrap founders. I want it to be the go-to place for like have an idea, have some traction, ready to get to whatever the next level is.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to come in. So like you're at 500 MRR, you join Indie Worldwide, and we get you to 5,000. You know, wherever you are, times 10, basically.
Yeah, which is the goal of most bootstrappers. They want to reach ramen. They want to then reach a decent paycheck. And
yeah, I mean, this when I first started, the goal was I want to make friends.
Yeah.
Now, and I want to learn things. I feel like I did those things, made some really cool friends and people that I really admire, and learned from them. Now it's like what does this community want to be like? What's next for it?
Mm-hmm.
I think like based on how all these challenges have gone, I think like that's what I want to do now is like become like the go-to online accelerator, like startup school for bootstrappers, basically.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very much better question than answer than mine. But yeah, I kind of I should think more about that for the community. But I would love as well to have enough people around the world, and I think you're much closer to that than me, where you could just go anywhere and meet them and work with them. And I really believe that
I would like what I'm doing this summer.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
Just going where my
basically
community members are and hanging out.
Because one thing that I noticed that indie hacking can be very lonely, and meeting people online is great, but I would love to just have a group of people that are like colleagues that I can go to a coffee place or a co-working space and just work.
Yeah.
I think that would be super fun. So
we should co-work more.
Yeah, definitely. We should do that. Maybe as the last question, what have you learned from the community members or from your interviews about bootstrapping that you didn't know before? Something that you're like, wow, yeah, I wish I knew this before I started.
Yeah, I mean, kind of everything.
Is there anything in specific?
I would say, like, start with your audience first. Like, start not necessarily build an audience first, but know who you're selling to.
Yeah.
Figure out what they need, solve their problems.
Yeah.
More common order of operations is come up with a product.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out who might want it and go sell it to them. So much easier if you figure out who you want to sell to first of all, and then how are you going to reach them? What is your distribution channel? Yeah. Start there, and then build a product that matches the distribution channel and the audience. I think that's
That's exactly my answer.
Yeah, really?
Yes. It's
exactly kind of common sense, but like...
It's not.
Common sense isn't all that common.
Yeah, I think it's not that intuitive. Like, when I first started, first start with an idea. There's always the cult of the idea. You need an idea, it needs to be great, needs to solve a problem. The idea is the most important thing. And then you build it, and then you reach the point you're trying to make money, and it's super hard for you to get people on board. Mm-hmm. And what I've noticed in all the interviews and everything is that you should actually start, as you said, with the audience. And that's as well exactly my answer. I would say exactly the same. Start with the audience, identify their problems, see where they hang out, understand their lingo, and then go from there. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, is that the podcast?
Perfect. Yeah.
All right. This was fun.
How should we end it? Just
wrap up.
Bye. Should speak about our communities. Trying to get some.
Yeah. So where do we find?
Where can we find you?
Mostly on Twitter, Anthony Castrillo. I just bought the indieworldwide.com.
So
you can go to indieworldwide.com. Most expensive letter I ever bought because I was co. It's like a $2,000 letter M. Now we're com.
And it's still a good price. I've heard some crazy prices for domains actually.
I bought it during an Indie Worldwide Mastermind because Vinod was talking about how much they spent for I think magicstudio.com. Mm-hmm. I was like, I don't want to pay if Indie Worldwide does grow like I want it to grow. Yeah, people are gonna jack up the price for this domain. I'm gonna buy it now because this is as cheap as it's gonna get. If I wait a year, it's probably gonna be $5,000 or $10,000 or whatever they think they can get from me. Yeah. So, indieworldwide.com.
Perfect.
Where do we find the Wannabe Entrepreneur Podcast?
Wannabe-entrepreneur.com. It's the website. And on Twitter at WB Podcast. I should change my handle. I think when I started it was only for the podcast, but now it's much more. So
You should be yourself on Twitter.
yeah, I should do that. But anyways, at the moment it's WB Podcast, and yeah, and that's it. You can go there and you'll find everything you need. And the links will also be in the description of both of our podcasts and everything, so people can just go there and click. And that's it. This was Wannabe Entrepreneur Fit Indie Worldwide.
Indie Worldwide Feet. WBE.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. That's it.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.